And good evening. This is Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my cold co-host, David Canute.
Man, it is freezing out there.
Who apparently they're locking the doors at the end of the building now about this time. And
I think they're trying to keep the homeless out.
I accidentally happened to walk down there just to check and see if you was coming. I knew you'd probably be here, but...
and there I was, a vision in white. You know, I saw a headline just today. I didn't get a chance to read the story, but 14 states were colder this week than the planet Mars.
Yeah.
How do you like that?
Well, I think they said yesterday there was 17 states that were suffering below zero temperature.
Yeah. Now, where's Al Gore's apology? Because he said the ice caps would all be melted right now. We wouldn't have winters like we knew them. He said that back in 2008, he said in 5 years' time, we were all going to be melting.
Well, I'm wondering if we can get Ed Fallon to go on that walk right now. Bring us some warm weather because he's going to walk that route.
The Keystone Pipeline route.
They're going to put the Keystone potentially across Iowa.
Yeah.
And he's...
Here's my thing on the Keystone. Maybe I'm going off on a tangent already, but I'm not against it. What are they going to do about the land there? I mean, are they just going to seize it through eminent domain or what?
Sure.
Don't you think it's kind of weird, though, that the very first act that the Republicans do when they start their session, Keystone Pipeline? I mean, come on. Isn't that kind of blatant? I mean, I don't mean to be sitting here, squabbling along party lines, but come on. Anyway.
Well, we got a lot to hit today, and it's not going to be quite as fiery and brimstony as last week.
My heaven, I hope not.
We'll be a little.
Try and rein myself in.
We'll be a little more civil this week, but want to start the show off today with a couple of Bible texts, and I guess they'd be primarily aimed at those who kind of believe that we're predestined to be lost or saved. And this is a text that a lot of people use to support that doctrine. And Maddie, could you bring up Romans 9?
Roll that beautiful Bible footage.
21 to 24. Can you scoot it over? I can read it off my Facebook here. Hath not the potter power over the clay, of the same lump to make one vessel to honor and another to dishonor? What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath filled to destruction? And he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory, even us whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but of the Gentiles. So basically what this verse is saying, and how the people who believe in a chosen, lost or saved, is basically God has the power to form the pot however he wants and do with the pot whatever he wants. Okay. So let's bring up the next text. And this is Jeremiah 8, 2 to 10. I wonder if you can scoot that. Can you take it over to the left a little bit so potentially people can read it? But I'll continue here on my Facebook because I have it posted on Facebook. Arise, go down to the potter's house, and there I will cause thee to hear my words. Then I went down to the potter's house, and behold, he wrought a work on wheels, and the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hands of the potter. So he made it again, another vessel, and it seemed good to the potter to make it. Then the word of God, the Lord came to me, saying, O house of Israel, can I not do with you as this potter, saith the Lord? Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hands, so are ye mine in my hand, O house of Israel. At what instant I shall speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom to pluck it up and pull down and to destroy it. If that nation against whom I pronounce turns from their evil, I will repent of the evil that I thought to do unto them. And at what instant I shall speak concerning a nation, concerning a kingdom to build and to plant it. If it do evil in my sight, that it obey not my voice, then I will repent of the good wherewith I said would benefit them. So there's two messages here. It's saying if you will turn I can reform that pot and remake that pot if I choose to do so. I'm sovereign. Then it's also saying, for those of you who don't hear my voice, you know the truth and you stop hearing my voice, then I can cast you away too.
Right. It's saying that you do have the choice whether to accept or reject, instead of, I've said everything. And I kind of went through that stage in my early 20s, which it's like 15 years ago.
Okay.
Hard to believe. Where I thought, God made the universe. He's the master of all. He set everything in motion. He knows what's going to happen. So therefore, it is all predestined, because, God is the master of the universe. He set the timeline. So therefore, he had to set who was going to be saved and who wasn't. And now that I'm older and understand a little bit more, I realize that that's not correct. We do have free will. Yes, he knows what is going to happen, but we do have that choice whether or not we are going to accept or reject him. He didn't choose it for us. He knows whether or not we're going to do it, but we do still have the choice, and I think we do still have doors. And I don't know, maybe there are alternate timelines and things like that quantum physics are a little bit more adept at answering than I am, but I think that's kind of the gist of what you're trying to say. Is it not?
The idea, yes. The idea is that the Calvinists believe in this idea that you're elected, you're chosen. The Armenians, which I guess is the rest of the Protestant world, believes that you have a choice. Now, one was taught by Calvin, the other was taught by primarily the Wesleys. And, maybe the Wesleys went too far in their Armenian beliefs, and that maybe they come off a little bit too much salvation by works. But it comes down to works of your own is filthy rags. It's the works from being connected to the Holy Spirit, like the branch is connected to the vine. Those are the works God is accepting. And that's when you're walking in obedience and walking in the Spirit of God. You receive that baptism of the Spirit when you confess and forsake your sins. And at that point, you're listening to the Holy Spirit. The law is now written in your heart as opposed to written on a tablet of stone. So you now keep the commandments and serve God out of your love, not fear of the condemnation of the law.
Right. And I don't know, maybe the Calvinists are approaching it from... I can't remember the exact passage in Revelations, but you remember the passage talking about the 144,000 who get sealed, the 12,000 for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. So maybe they're approaching it from that there's only 144,000 that are going to be saved. So those are the predestined.
That ends up more in the lap of the Jehovah Witnesses. I got a definite belief about the 144,000, but they believe that that's the only amount that's going to heaven, and they're going to reign with the Lord for 1,000 years, and then they're going to come back, and the earth's going to get this second chance to straighten its act up.
Well, I had a thought on the 144,000. Tex Mars was on Jan Michelson's show talking about a book that he had written earlier this week. He was talking about how the people who are in Israel right now, claiming to be the Jews, genetically they're actually they're actually Khazars or Khazars. I'm not sure what their correct pronunciation is. So they don't have the genetic link to Abraham that the true Jews do.
Sure.
So I was thinking, well, and I'm not saying that I agree with this or not. It's just stuff I think about during the week. I was thinking, well, maybe that 144,000 are the last remaining actual true Jews with a genetic link to Abraham.
I have some definite thoughts on the 144,000, and I'll share them with you in the weeks to come, but I'll give you a tip that Malachi says that before Christ comes, he will send you Elijah.
And that's right.
And I believe the 144,000 is the last day Elijah's to call out the people from all the Protestant churches to join one body of Christ, and the wicked, it's the last call, come into the church, and that's spiritual Israel, in my opinion, and stay out of spiritual Babylon. But as I said, I will share some of my views on that on a later day. But I want to get to something that you said. We kind of talked a little bit this week about revisiting some things, and you mentioned that you might like to revisit my comments that I had on pantheism.
Oh, yeah.
And I won't go into all the fire and brimstone that we might get off on. So
That's
just,
all right.
Just ignore the parts that you dislike about the post and focus on the ones you wanted to comment on. Pantheism is contrary to the truth that while God can be found in nature, God is not nature. Pantheism has a subset of various untruths that in essence distracts men from clear truth in God and honor for his clear law. Pantheism holds that desire is the highest law and that license is liberty. It mixes spiritualism, evolution, theosophy, sensualism, and other fleshly desire in an effort to condone sin. In many ways, worship the gift while denying the gift giver. An excellent example of this phenomenon is climate change movement, which was partially co-founded in the early 70s, known as the New Age movement, and adopted by actress Shirley MacLaine. Don't cut down a tree because that tree would be a crime against God and nature, and of course could include crime against animals, even though God gave man dominion over that kingdom. But nonetheless, dirty water or dirty air is viewed as a worse evil than sin and rebellion. PETA is another of these sub-groups. Man should be stewards of this earth, but this movement is fanatical, irrational. Man has to live and was punished by God to till the earth, work by the sweat of his brow to eke out an existence, but the tree huggers won't concede us that. Now, don't dare tell them that they are sinners and in need of salvation because they're their own God and their works are perfecting them and their utopian vision. And then you had something you wanted to share about something our great prelate, great leader of the papacy got going.
Well, I got on such a tangent last week that I kind of missed a better point. The first encyclical that's going to come out from Pope Francis this year is going to deal with climate change, the debunked theory of global warming, which science has stopped 18 years ago. I can't remember exactly what, but yeah, it looks like in 2015 the Pope will issue a lengthy message on the subject to the world's 1.2 billion Catholics, give an address to the UN General Assembly, and call a summit of the world's main religions. How prophetic do you think that is, that he's calling together the world's main religion? This guy really is acting as the bridge between the so-called Protestants, Catholics, and I really think that he's going to try and act as a bridge to Islam as well. This guy really feels like he's setting in motion the unification into a one-world religion.
Well, exactly. The papacy is eventually going to make this play for the Protestant Church. Mm-hmm. That what the Reformation tore apart, mm-hmm. It's safe to come home, and the bridge is going to be laid down,
right,
to come across.
And there are even Protestant leaders, and I can't remember who it was that said this, but there are even Protestant leaders who are talking about, well, hey, this guy, he's got everything we want. The Reformation is over. We can heal now. I maybe during the break I'll try and find that article, but this is something that's going on.
Well, I have some thoughts that I will share with you on the papacy that I penned here last week. But did you have any final thoughts on that?
I think that's about good. It looks like they're meeting in September. According to Vatican insiders, Francis will meet other faith leaders and lobby politicians at the General Assembly in New York in September, when countries will sign up to new anti-poverty and environmental goals. In recent months, the Pope has argued for a radical new financial and economic system to avoid human equality. He was calling for a one-world economic system earlier, and ecological devastation. In October, he told a meeting of Latin Americans and Asian landless peasants and other social movements, quote, an economic system centered on the god of money needs to plunder nature to sustain the frenetic rhythm of consumption that is inherent to it. The system continues unchanged, since what dominates are the dynamics of an economy and a finance that are lacking in ethics.
Well, this has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kaniuk, and Maddie producing. When we come back, we'll pick up on some of the hottest topics that's been going on that we haven't been able to cover the last several weeks. So,
sizzling!
We'll be back.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
The only way we come to know the Saviorship of Jesus Christ is by bowing and acknowledging that He is Lord and King over all the earth.
Jesus Christ died on a cross, paid the penalty for our sin, and by repenting of our sin and accepting Him by faith, what He did for us, we are forgiven.
Salvation is not a combination of faith and works. Salvation is by faith alone in God.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
And we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Canuck, and Maddie producing. If you'd like to join the show with your comments or questions, you can call 515-244-0077. I found the post that since we're talking about the papacy, I was going to share it later, but I come across it pretty quick, so I'll share it now. December the 26th of 2014, I write, "Hey, Protestant churches, want to get cozy with the papacy? Oh, do remember her dogma, sin, and crimes. The Dark Ages, change the Sabbath day, indulgences, penance, immortality of the soul, eternal torment, purgatory, sainthood, spiritualism, relics, idol worship, mass, sacraments, martyrdom of the saints, the Inquisition, beggary, torture, infant baptism, molestation, drunkenness, debauchery, licentiousness, Jesuits, excess, Bibles banned and burned. This, of course, is just the short list, and by no means the complete list. Do you know why Protestants got their name? You guessed it, it's from protest against the church. Well, you've heard the old saying, thou doth protest too much? Well, in this case, you Protestants doth not protest enough. For the papacy is only tolerant where she is powerless, and any crime or atrocity she committed in the past, she will gladly repeat again in the future, given the chance. Wake up, Protestants, before the time catches you sleeping."
And the Protestant leader was Episcopal Bishop Tony Palmer.
Yes.
Who had called for the, he said that, I'll find that story. Here we go. Bishop Tony Palmer, who is a personal friend of Pope Francis, is now labeling Christians spiritual racists if they don't partner with the Catholic Church. He says that refusing to unite with the Roman Catholic Church is the sin against the cross of Christ. In other words, they are rejecting Christ's will and they are heretics Interesting enough, after he said that, on July 20th, 2014, he died in an auto accident.
Yeah.
And I'm not laughing at his
Yeah,
death,
sure.
but it's kind of a clear signal that maybe what he was saying was heretical.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we may not agree on this particular post, all of this, because I know you got some definite opinions about a police state and martial law and things, and I don't really read this to get into a severe argument amongst ourselves about that particular subject, but I want to share something with you about Brother Al Sharpton that I posted on December the 23rd. As a Christian, I'm very sensitive to issues of free speech, and I want as few restrictions on it as possible. But just as it is crime to yell fire in a crowded theater, the word bomb on an airplane, the unmerited charge of racism should rise to this level. Al Sharpton should be arrested and charged by some ingenious district attorney of inciting riot and co-conspiracy of the murder of 2 police officers. This idea that someone with the checkered past of Sharpton can fly around the country from hot button issue to another, agitate and stir the race passions, then cry innocence when fire, riot, and looting, death follow is just not acceptable. Our nation is a powder keg and a fuse awaiting the match, and we could have a dozen major cities going up in flames, and Sharpton is the common denominator in all these events. I'm not calling for his arrest. I am calling for his arrest and his arraignment on charges of inciting riot in Ferguson and co-conspiracy of the death of the New York NYPD police officers. This nation must get control of this and use laws that already exist to prosecute. We don't need any new laws to go after him. Tax evasion hung one Al Capone, so tax evasion can hang another Al Sharpton. This guy is a criminal. But then look who he hangs out with, de Blasio and Obama. Enough said.
Well, I don't have any actual major disagreements with that post. Al Sharpton is a professional FBI informant. He's acting as a professional agitator right now.
And why was he that informant? Do you know the history of that? Or
I don't remember all the history offhand. I
well,
apologize.
he got caught in a drug sting
I
trying
see.
to buy what's the term I want to use for buying liters of cocaine. What's the term? Well, anyway, it's a weight of cocaine.
A kilo.
Kilo. Yes. He got caught in a drug sting, so he turned to save his own hide. So continue with anything you want to say about it.
Well, I was just going to say they are shipping in. The Obama administration has been shipping in agitators. They're shipping in actual ISIS members to go in and start stirring up trouble in these communities. So, I will agree with most of that post. He is definitely trying to stir up racial tension in the country. He's trying to stir up racial strife in the country. Thank God that it is. Maybe it's an act of God that it's so cold that it is right now, so we don't have this continuing on.
It's like I got into an argument with Bradshaw, the famous atheist in town, and we debated this one day on this idea of free speech. Speech is either free or it isn't. And of course, the atheists will immediately hit you with that, well, you can't yell fire in a movie theater. We as a society have a right, if we want to come together and we want to vote on, I don't necessarily believe judges, this should be left to judges who have a lifetime tenure and can't be voted out of office to decide our speech issues. But I think we as a civilization can come together. If we want to ban the N-word, the use of it, if we want to ban certain words, it ought to be to the consensus of the people. We can police ourselves if we choose to do so. And I think there's only a few words that would even elevate to that level of, fire in a movie theater, a bomb on an airplane. Any kind of reference to that on an airplane it may not get you arrested, but it will get you detained.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
But hang on just a second. Do you think that crying racism and stirring the racism pot when there's absolute no evidence of racism,
right, should
rise to that level because it's such a hot button thing?
That's all they have. That's all they have in their deck of cards is the racism card. That's all they have left that they can play. And what I was going to say, here's the thing: Dr. Martin Luther King, he didn't go around trying to incite riots. I mean, he was actually trying to bring to the forefront real racial issues that were going on. There are so many police abuses that occur in this country on a daily basis. I get inundated with stories and angry at stories that I see every day. Here's disgraced Des Moines police officers to be reinstated. This guy was arrested on a domestic assault charge. The Des Moines police don't want him back, but the police union are making him get reinstated. This guy has a past history with another police department.
That's not Tom Van Bali, is it now?
No, it's somebody. Well, let me say his name here. Cody Grimes.
Okay.
Grimes was fired after he was arrested on a domestic assault charge in 2013. Now the City Civil Service Commission is expected to order Grimes be reinstated. His ex-girlfriend says she was forced to move to another state because she's so afraid of Grimes. Anyway, let's find the story here. If you want to go after police abuse issues, which I think we should be talking about in this country. Here's something that I posted just yesterday. Woman sodomized on the side of the road by cops because her boyfriend smelled like weed. Even if drugs would have been found, the act of penetrating a woman's body to look for a plant deemed illegal by state is immoral, repugnant, and a telling implication of a broken system. This happened in Brazoria County, Texas. A woman is suing the Texas Department of Public Safety, its director, and 4 state troopers in federal court, claiming her constitutional rights were violated when she was given an invasive body cavity search on the side of the freeway. One of the troopers was actually involved in 2 highly publicized roadside cavity searches that took place 2 years ago, which drew broad media attention and spawned a lawsuit the state settled out of court, according to Houston 2.
Sir, you tell me they didn't bring in a female officer?
They did actually bring in a female officer.
All right.
Jennifer Stelly and her boyfriend Channing Castex were pulled over in March of 2013 while driving to Surfside Beach. Officers arrested Castex after claiming to smell marijuana, to which Castex admitted smoking. A female state trooper was then called in to search Stelly in view of the dash camera in the police cruiser. Stelly said the troopers were searching for drugs hidden on or in her body. Quote, she started going into my clothing and she penetrated areas that I don't wish to disclose at this point, Stelly said. I was scared. I was violated. I didn't know what to do. The invasive cavity search took place on a busy freeway in full view of the public as they were driving by. Stelly went on to say, I was afraid for one, she said. But more than afraid, I was publicly humiliated. I was violated in daylight. So you've got stuff like that. You've got this case in Ohio of these cops rolling up and shooting this kid with, he had a BB gun. Yeah. You've got another case that happened late last year. This dude walking around Walmart with a BB gun that was from Walmart that he was going to purchase. Cops came in, just shot the guy. No questions asked or anything like that. So my point is, there are so many cases of police abuses, which we could talk about in this country. Sure. We could have an honest conversation. But the Al Sharptons, the Barack Obamas, the agitators in this country, they want to seize on something that's ambiguous. The reports were very ambiguous with Michael Brown when they were first coming out. I mean, all the reports were saying, Michael Brown was trying to surrender and he was shot. So, yeah, that does sound very bad. But then as the truth came out, and as the forensics and everything came out, it turned out, no, Michael Brown was just a thug who robbed a liquor store and then, tried to punch a cop and everything. So why do they seize on that? I guess this is my final point. Why do they seize on that, which is so clear as mud, instead of going after these other things, which are far more damaging? And the answer is because they're trying to rile people up. And it also, it makes the black community look foolish. It rallies the police in their own separate corners. It rallies white people together in their own corners.
Well, this
Sorry,
is
you
our
can-
break coming
Oh,
up.
I'm
isn't it?
sorry. I talked too much.
Oh, we got 2 minutes?
There we go. That's the end of my rant.
Oh, 1 minute. Pardon me. That's fine. I was a little off. I've been doing radio 3 days this week, and I've been. Go ahead and continue.
No. I was reaching my climax right there.
I thought we was going right out at 6 o'clock, but apparently it's 6:01.
Maddie doesn't want to go out at 6 o'clock. All right. So anyway, that's my point. Why go after Michael Brown? You know, why bring that to the forefront, which is to stir up
Sure.
Rachel? We all know that.
Well,
Instead of
Mac posted a video. J. Michael McCoy posted a video of another crime that Michael Brown had been involved in. Some people dispute that it's him. And some people,
I saw that video
where
actually.
he was beating the black guy.
Yeah, I saw that.
Some people swear it's him. Some people don't. I assume I'm going into break, but I'm 6:02. Okay, pardon me again.
She'll play music over you. Don't worry about it.
Well, I was expecting the music at 6 o'clock, so pardon me for this. We're actually going to a break in 1 minute from now. But J. Michael McCoy posted a video of supposedly Michael Brown. Now, some people are disputing this is him. I think it happened in another state. Some people swear it's him. Mm-hmm. Did you get it? Did you see it?
Yeah, I watched that video. I don't know if it's him or not. I didn't get a chance to listen to the audio of that, if there was any that was posted, but it sure looks like
Well,
him.
that was certainly a brutal attack.
That
wasn't
was a brutal attack. And how come nobody... Here's another question about the whole Michael Brown thing. Nobody has interviewed that Indian shop owner. There's been nothing in the mainstream media. Have you seen anything?
No, I haven't seen
Neither
anything
have I.
about
How come
that.
nobody's gone and talked to him? Because he was the one that was
Well,
robbed.
supposedly they had been jacked a couple of previous times by the same guy, with what I heard. This has been Frankly Speaking, live with your host Frank Holzhauser and my co-host David Kaniuk and Maddie producing, and we'll return after the break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid,
I am Bernie Hobbs,
and I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team,
I'll take a call anytime.
and then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do? What type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking Live. I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-hosts, David Kanyuk and Maddie producing. Sorry about the confusion on the breaks. I've been doing radio 3 days this week, and I've been having to break for some hard breaks.
And swimmingly, too. You've been on Restoring Hope, Michael McCoy's show, correct?
Yes, been on View from a Pew 3 days
I'm
this
sorry.
week. And last week I was on Restoring Hope.
Oh, okay. Hey, one thing real quick. Let's give out the number.
Yes, let's try that again. That's 515-244-0077. Want to share with you this, and it's. I don't really have anything typed up on it or really prepared to say, so I'll just kind of throw it out as general conversation. But there's a new term in the lexicon, and occasionally we get these in the vernacular. Mm-hmm. And the new term in the phraseology is if you're acting a certain way, you're acting Gruberian.
As in
Jonathan Gruber.
Oh, okay.
So
all right. So if you're developing a plan to rob people blind, basically violate them on the side of the road, like in the previous story.
Searches,
right.
It's called the Gruberian search.
Metaphorical body cavity searches. Yeah, okay, it's Gruberian. I like that.
Okay, so now a story this week comes out that the Harvard professors have their underwear in a bunch.
Ew.
And many of these were the very ones who were telling us that we need Obamacare.
The intellectual elite, the very paragon of smarts.
Very upper echelon
the
of
people
smarts
who should be telling us what to do every minute of the day.
Have their underwear in a bunch because their co-payments or their insurance premiums are going to be, it's going to cost them an additional $250.
Well, they're getting off easy. I know people who are having their payments go up by thousands of dollars. To the Harvard people, welcome to what we've been telling you for years and years. Welcome to the grand screwing. Welcome to the final nail in the coffin of the middle class. Welcome to the government having apps. Here's the thing. I bet those people, especially the women of the Harvard intelligentsia, would be the same people who would argue, make the anti-abortion or the pro-abortion argument of hands off my body.
Oh, sure.
Right. But they have no problem back in 2009, 2010.
How about hands off my wallet?
Well, no, exactly. But they have no problem arguing that the government should have absolute total control of your health care.
Yeah.
So it's hands off my body for one thing, but hands all over my body for anything else.
Well, I guess it's the point that government inevitably always makes rules that they themselves don't have to abide by, such as Acorn. And I don't know that it does. Some people says it's been dismantled. I don't know that if it's blended into something else.
Yeah, it's just blended into something else.
They always lobbied for health care for everyone, and they always lobbied for minimum wage.
Yeah,
but when it came to their organization, they were exempted from health care and exempted from minimum wage.
Yeah, just like McDonald's, they're exempted. All these big corporations, they're exempted from Obamacare requirements and everything. And everybody who does have to follow it, all the workers, probably a lot of them who were arguing for this thing in the first place, they're now seeing their hours get cut down to 29 hours because if they go up to 30, well, they have to get covered for health insurance.
Did you see at all that pitiful exercise of Jonathan Gruber appearing before congressional hearings?
Yeah, I caught bits and pieces of it.
I mean, he just, I was speaking out of turn.
Oh, bravo, Sierra.
I was trying to act like a big shot.
Well, he was trying to act like a big shot, but no, he knew exactly what he was saying.
Well, this guy, look, here's the first problem I got with all of this. It took a private citizen a lot of research on his own dime to find these videos. Now, where was the media? The media had access to the same stuff. It took a private citizen to dig this stuff out.
Yeah, they're in on it, brother. I mean, you know that. I know that. Most people who have ears to hear and eyes to see, they know that.
But above and beyond all of that, this wasn't a one-off thing where I misspoke. It was time after time after time after time he was out there calling the American people stupid. It's the only way they could have sold it. They had to sell it as a tax. It got sold as interstate commerce. And your ability to raise a fee or a penalty on something, they wouldn't call it a direct tax. And the guy just sit there, and there's video after video after video coming out. Now the media is actually doing some actual digging, and they probably have 20 or 30 examples of this guy now saying the same thing. So how do you pawn this off on the American people that I was just talking out of turn and I was trying to act like a big shot?
It's a lead balloon. It's tell me what the meaning of the word is. And the Republican Congress, they could have put a big first step forward with the beginning of their legislative session by trying to block Obamacare or defund it. But nope, we're going to do the Keystone Pipeline because that is what we were told to do.
They're doing exactly what
they're told to do.
It's called plausible deniability. It's a term in government that whenever you want to protect the leader of something, you come up with a way that he can plausibly deny his fingerprints on it.
They're in on it.
But I use this other term that trotting out to fall on the sword. They're going to trot out Gruber, to fall on the sword eventually. They want to force him to pay back the money he was paid to. They're not going to foist this thing down the American people's throat.
Gruber's so yesterday's news. He's out of most people's mental radar. But here, let's segue into this. Did you see Barry Soetoro is proposing? This just came out yesterday. He's proposing 2 free years of community college for students now. So now we're going from national health care to national education. President Barack Obama on Friday will propose making 2 years of community college free for students. In a White House video posted Thursday evening, Obama said he wanted to offer a little preview of his plans for the January 20th State of the Union address. He said, "What I'd like to do is see the first 2 years of community college free for everybody who's willing to work for it," Obama said. "It's something we can accomplish, and it's something that will train our workforce so that we can compete with anybody in the world." The proposal would make 2 years of community college free for students with a C+ average who attend school at least half time and are making steady progress towards their degree. That's all very nice and good and everything, but what's that going to do to actual college tuition?
It'll send it through the roof.
Absolutely, just like insurance has sent.
Well, whenever government gets in something and ultimately they're responsible for paying the bill, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whatever it is government gets in, the price of said thing goes up through the roof.
Right. And then this is going to cost the U.S. $70 billion or whatever, and then they're only taking up part of it. They're expecting the states to take up the rest of that, so that's going to drive their budget deficits, through the basement as well. In a bad way, I mean.
Well, let me ask you this. We brought this wonderful person up on the show before, none other than our illustrious Congresswoman from Texas, Sheila Jackson Lee. And she asserted on the floor of the Congress that health care, food, housing, and education are civil rights.
They're not. I mean, they're not. In a free market economy, they're not.
Well, what can we do in this country?
So
well, hang on here. Let me formulate my question. What can we do in this country if we've got a subset of people who are out there saying something that's just so blindly ridiculous? Where is that in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence? Where does it say I mean, we're entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Where does it say that somebody else is obligated to pay for it?
Right. They've got this utopian vision, but that's the problem with utopian visions. They're just visions, and they don't work in practice. And I don't know what is she expecting people to do? How are people going to get ahead? You know, if we're funding their housing and everything like that, there's not going to be any incentive. I work in a job right now, and I don't want to name names or anything, but I work in a job right now where I got people who are, they're higher on the food chain, but they're not management level right now. They've busted their behinds for 14 years or whatever. They go to apply for a manager position, and they get told, well, we don't think you're ready yet. After 14 years of being better than everything else, of busting their behinds and everything, and then the position that they did have kind of gets taken away, so they're put back on to kind of a lower peg. So it's like everything that they've worked for gets taken away. So what's the incentive to try and succeed?
There's no incentive.
Exactly. And that's why I've likened my environment that I work into to a socialist environment.
Well, let me get this in quick, and I want to hit two things in the final segment here. But the same illustrious Sheila Jackson Lee also mentioned that, of course, she's part of that PC police squad that runs around college campuses, and she was saying that welfare check gives such negative stereotype and connotations to the people who receive it. So she was introducing some sort of legislation to change that from welfare check to transitional living fund check. Now,
I'll call it what you want.
Just wait a minute. Now, can't you imagine some guy saying, "Hey, Bob, can't go to the booby bar with you just yet this afternoon. I'm waiting on my transitional living fund check to arrive in the mailbox. Then we'll be right over there with our dollar bills ready to go."
They'll be transitioning somewhere else, I guess.
Well, this is how absurd, this is just how ridiculous and how absurd this country is, that we're spending ourselves into oblivion.
Right. And
we're $18 trillion in debt, and I've heard people say there's only $60 trillion in circulation. So that would be like $3 in debt and or $3 of circulation in the whole world, and we're $1 in debt.
Well, there's another economist out there who has factored in all the derivatives and everything. And he says the debt, and I wish I remembered his name. Maybe I'll try and find that during the break. But he says that actually
Paul
with
Krugman.
What's that?
No, Paul
no,
Krugman.
I don't think it is. But he says that
was a joke.
Actually, the debt is like in the quadrillions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. This has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kaniuk, and we will return after the break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
And we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kanyuk, and our lovely Maddie producing. Wanted to mention, I'm going to try to hit 3 things here in the remaining 10 minutes or so that we have, so we'll divide up about 3 minutes on each topic. But I wanted to mention this hacking scandal, and I think you have some opinions that what we're seeing on the surface may not be what in reality what's happening. And I kind of put on a post that I posted, and we got into it a little bit, but we didn't really iron it out. And I said, well, it doesn't really make any difference. And you said something back to the fact, well, what do you mean? What difference does it make? We're all hacking each other. This world is hacking one another, and we're all stealing. China's been stealing our intellectual properties for a long time. We're hacking Iran. There's hacking going on all over the place. I would almost say, because you like to talk a lot about World War III, I would almost say that we're in World War III now. We're not really going to have conventional warfare that's really going to lead World War III. I think it's going to be these hacking scandals and potentially taking down our electrical grids, taking down our airlines, potentially anything that has a computer associated with it can be hacked. And, I wasn't so much focused on who actually done the hacking of Sony. On the surface, everybody's wanting to point the finger at North Korea. I'm not totally sold and totally convinced in my mind yet.
Right.
But I'm just saying, what difference does it make in that hacking to me is the new war. It's the new battlefield for everyone to try to fight each other, is to take our intellectual properties and screw up with our computer systems.
No, I agree with that. We are in World War III right now, and I agree with you. A lot of it's going to be fought, at least in the initial stages, on the cyber front. We are going to see at some point, whether it's staged or an actual attack, we are going to see the banking system go down. We're going to see a lot of other havoc that's reached. But truth is always relevant. Truth is always relevant. And the FBI coming out and saying North Korea was involved in this when they had zero evidence to back it up. And now it's pretty much been debunked that North Korea had anything to do with it. The only people that are saying that North Korea had anything to do with it are the FBI and the Obama administration, and they can't produce any evidence. Every third-party expert out there says, no, actually, we looked at it. There's nothing backing up the claim that North Korea did this. And this is not me defending North Korea at all. So I don't want that to be confused. I don't want people to be confused with that. They're a terrible, terrible nation. Kim Jong-il or Kim Song-il. No, Kim Jong-un, I'm sorry. He's a terrible person who had his uncle fed to dogs. And I'm not exaggerating at all. That was how he had him executed. But I am so focused on making sure that the record is straight. And here's why it's important. It's important because the people who don't pay attention to it, they're going to go out and believe that North Korea was behind this, because this is an attempt to build North Korea up as a boogeyman. But the real danger is in a revived SOPA and CISPA regulation that would get pushed through in the name of combating North Korea because of the Sony hack, which North Korea didn't do. So that's why the truth is very important. And SOPA and CISPA are terrible for intellectual freedom on the internet. So
one thing I don't want to get off on this, because we can argue this another day, but this is kind of what I'm was a little bit snippy about with the Snowden situation, is that he revealed some things to the Chinese and the Russians that I assume probably put us in potentially bad light of who we've been spying on.
What did he reveal to the Chinese and Russians?
Well, Angela Merkel wasn't real happy with finding out that supposedly we were spying on her, and that supposedly was revealed out of the Snowden deal.
Well, come on, everybody's spying on everybody.
Well, that's
one thing. The major thing, though, about Snowden is that he lifted the lid on the crimes that are being committed in this country.
Like I said, we got about 5 minutes left here, and I'm going to split it up between these two topics. You had some thoughts about the new Congress.
Oh, I was going to say our esteemed new Congressman David Young, the foot fetishist himself, this guy, he bought toenail clippers for all of his staffers because His point was that you have to be willing to do anything for your constituents. 90% of your constituents, David Young, did not want John Boehner back in as Speaker of the House. And you went against the will of 90% of your constituents. How is that being willing to do anything for your constituents? How? You are absolutely a spineless wimp. Don't come back to this district. We don't want you.
Well, I think if
and if there's a way to recall you, I'm going to research how to recall you and get you out.
I guess I think that if I think this is Boehner's last chance, basically, at this, and I think that there will be.
He's doing his job.
Yes.
His job is to block any legitimate Republican opposition.
But I think what's going to happen is he will get Eric Cantored. If he doesn't step up to the plate now that we have both houses of Congress, because this has been the promise that's been held out to conservatives, we only own a third of a third or half of a third of one house. We don't own the executive. We didn't own the Senate at the time. So they were holding this out. Now that we have the Senate and the Congress, this is his last chance in many people's minds to step up or get tossed out like Eric Cantor.
He had his chance already. He's proven, before the Republicans started the session, he funded Obamacare, he funded Planned Parenthood and everything. Here's the thing. It's time to come out of Babylon, Christians. All right? Time to come out of Babylon. The GOP is not joined at the hip with your Christianity. It's time to come out of the GOP. Don't vote for them. Here,
Okay.
let me. No. I'm going to make this one last thing. This is
Okay.
a big statement.
All right.
No other institution has been more damaging to the Christian church in this country than the GOP. Think about that for a little bit. Call us next week. You want to talk about that, but I want that to sink in. I want you to tweet that out, put that on the Facebook. No other institution has been more damaging to the Christian church in this country than the GOP. You think about that, and then we could talk about that next week.
All right. Now, the last topic we want to get to is you wanted to mention something about the Muslim attack, and I'm going to be real honest here. I'm not totally up on this total topic, so I'm going to leave it up to you to give your opinion here.
Well, the point that I wanted to make about the attack in France here, let me pull that up. So the point that I wanted to make, this should be, the two thoughts that I had were obviously gun control works because the bad guys were the only ones that had the guns. But really, this should be the final nail in the coffin of the liberal ideology of multiculturalism.
Amen.
You've heard the argument that we should no longer be called a melting pot, that we should be called more of a fruit salad. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
I can't remember who first argued that. It might have been Carter, if I'm not mistaken. But the argument goes that the melting pot is so important because America is called a melting pot because we take individual pieces. What does a melting pot do?
It blends everybody.
Exactly. It takes those individual pieces, those pieces from France, those pieces from Germany, those pieces from Africa, puts them all into this one pot, and then it takes those individual pieces and fuses them together into one new whole piece.
Well, let me get this in, and we're just about at the conclusion of the show, but Angela Merkel, probably within a last year and a half, said multiculturalism was a utter failure.
Right, it is. And we're seeing the fruits of this multiculturalism right now with this radical jihadi attack in France.
Well, we're always wanting to compare ourselves to Europe, but England, it's a failure in England. And it's a failure in Germany, and both countries are telling us so and saying, don't go down that road.
And that is why illegal immigration is not an act of love, as Jeb Bush calls it.
Well, that is the end of our show, and we will be back here next week. And if you want to think about it, give David a call and answer his question. So this has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Canute Jr., and Maddie producing. So we will join you again next week, and share this with your friends, family, enemies, whoever you want to share it with, and encourage them to listen, encourage them to participate. We don't want to just do this in a vacuum, so be sure and call, be sure and send us your comments. We'll see you next week.